John, fantastic to get you on Real Vision.
Raoul, it's a pleasure. I love your product. I love Real Vision. And we have so many mutual friends. That's even better when I see a familiar face.
So, yeah, I want to go through your journey because yours is an interesting journey, like quite a few of our friends and sort of quite like me. Start at the beginning. Tell us where you've come from and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I'll start with the John Woo story first. Well, John Woo, I'm the president of Ava Labs. Ava Labs is the team behind Avalanche, a next generation blockchain. So I started my professional career, first as an investor with a lot of mutual friends at a place called Tiger Management, where I actually started on the macro side.
How did you get your first job at Tiger? That was like the dream job. How on earth did you land that as your first job?
Not easy. Back then, when you are trying to get on Wall Street, it was those 2-year investment banking analyst programs. And that's what all the recruiting was on campus. So I, luckily, born and raised in the New York area, knew a thing or two about finance and hedge funds because, my parents went to NYU and their friends around the neighborhood were all finance people. The parents were, at least. So I heard about this thing, hedge fund, and I heard it was such a great place to be because every day was a treasure hunt and you had a barometer of success because there was a P&L associated with you. So I felt like meritocracy, that's a place I want to be at. And I personally loved investing. So what I actually did was literally write. And back then it was not email write. It was literally write a letter, mail it. And I mailed it to Tiger, Caxton, Soros, Steinhardt. There was only a handful back then. I think luckily for me, I was about to start an investment banking job and then the Tiger guys came back to me. I guess I was lucky. They were impressed that I knew how George Soros broke the Bank of England. And I was a student of at least the currency markets. So that's how I got into Tiger, by writing to them, literally.
I mean, that's extraordinary. I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, Tiger was one of the most elite firms in the world, of which everybody wanted to go there. And you send a letter to them and get in. So you're at Tiger now and you get put on the macro desk of all places, like the hottest desk in the entire planet. What year is this?
This is the early 90s.
Oh, amazing, right? So this was macro.
Great time. Inverted yield curves around the world. I got there after George Soros broke the Bank of England. So much was happening. There was volatility in the FX. There was arbitrage all over the place. And it was like literally a kid in a candy store. And for me, not just the markets, but I got to learn from some of the best people in the world and create frameworks on how to think about things and how to do things in life.
So were you there for the European convergence trade, for example?
No, I already went off to business school at Harvard before that happened. But the beginning of that, I was there for.
So then you left Tiger to go to Harvard?
Yep, that's right.
Most people leave Harvard to go to Tiger.
Well, you remember you had to go to business school to get promoted back in the day.
Yeah, true.
So, it's not like today where entrepreneurialism has been institutionalized with Y Combinator and other things, and there's just money out there for people who have great ideas or great technologies. Back then, it was the path that you had to take if you wanted to get promoted and move up the corporate ladder, if you will, for better or for worse. For me, it was fun. I had a lot of great friends, but part of the reason I also went back was because that was the beginning, the mid 90s when, Netscape IPO, beginning of the internet era. And I had always loved technology. So as much fun as macro was and learning different things about money supply and studying central bank governance and getting to talk to, just incredible people, I really wanted to, my friends, myself, I was involved in playing around with the internet. I wanted to invest in those things. So that was part of the reason why I went back to business school as well.
And that was a macro trend in its own right? One of the biggest macro trends of all time was the internet.
Absolutely. And I remember still to this day, when I was at Tiger, a couple of things that really shaped my view of technology. One was, I don't know if you remember, but the AOL servers broke down because of excess demand. So the service went down, literally just went down. And then a whole bunch of hedge fund type people started shorting AOL. And in hindsight, that was the stupidest thing to ever do, because when things go down because there's such great demand, it's actually a good thing. So that's one thing that really shaped my thinking. The other thing that shaped my thinking was when Netscape IPO'd. And I just remember all the smartest of the smartest people saying, like, what's the use case? I can't value this thing. This doesn't make any sense to me. This is a great short, et cetera. They may have been right if they timed it well, but in the back of my mind, I was like, you guys are brilliant. I'm just a young kid right out of college, so I'm not going to speak, but something tells me that there's something here, because I and all my friends are constantly on this thing and we love it. Now, I don't know how to value this thing, but I know I use it. So there is something here. Those two things really shaped the way I thought about technology.
So how did you get into technology? So you leave Harvard. What do you do next?
I go to, and I ran the largest tech portfolio ultimately at Kingdon Capital, another early pioneer, Mark Kingdon, a great man. Yeah. And, and I got to do what I love, not just the markets at the time, but also study emerging technologies, invest in great internet companies, software companies, and try to identify great emerging trends. That was a lot of fun. I learned not only how to invest, but how to study business models and look at management, how they manage literally sometimes hyper growth environments. Ultimately, with the good track record and I think, as you yourself did, we all want to go on and hang our own shingles, if you will. And with the help of Blackstone, I started my own tech firm. And that was a lot of fun as well. Started doing some privates. Actually, I did some privates before that, but really got to see technology investing from a different angle. Actually, that's when I first started looking at crypto and Bitcoin. So in 2013, if you'll remember, Bitcoin had a nice bull run. And it was this thing that only crazy people got involved with, but it had an unbelievable run. And I couldn't really understand it either, to be fair. I was looking at it at that point from a technology investor perspective. I was trying to look for the cash flows. I was trying to DCF this thing and figure out if it's real, but I went to a few things, and like everyone who was involved seemed like such a scammy type person. So I was a skeptic, frankly. And then 2014, Mt. Gox happens and the thing crashes. So I start to look at it again, just because that's my nature. When, something I kind of like, but not sure, but then it seemed like, okay, I can get this for a lot cheaper now. I started studying it, and it's actually my macro hat that turned on that helped me get into it. So I realized, you know what? Stop looking at this as if it's a individual technology company. Look at this more like a commodity or an FX instrument. And I started studying the supply and demand. And, back then, I think there was only 15 million units of Bitcoin mined times the price of 300 or 400. So on a daily basis, the incremental supply of Bitcoin on Earth was literally a little more than $1 million. I remember that. And then we were tracking wallets, addresses, the volume of exchanges, looking at all that stuff. You have to make some assumptions. One thing was clear as day to me, and that was that demand was growing way out of a sync with the supply. So I didn't know what price target or how to look at it, but I knew that when demand is that much bigger than supply, you want to go long.
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to like and subscribe for more crypto-related content. Also, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto.